Leave no trace? More like leaves on her face. Man, this movie was good.
That's not excuse. That's something else. We've never gone that low. We've never gone that low. That was horrendous.
Good stuff, Bailey. Good stuff.
So Leave No Trace is directed by Debra Granik, and it is her first film since Winter's Bone back in 2010. Yes, it has been 8 long years for her to get this film made, apparently, because, you know, we don't want to give money to people who make good films.
Yeah, let's go give money to Skyscraper, because everyone wanted to see that.
Let's go give money to everyone else. And the film stars Thomasin McKenzie in her first lead role alongside the absolutely fantastic, wonderful, beautiful human being of Ben Foster.
Ben Foster! He's so good!
In a film that follows a veteran who is living with his daughter in the forest, and that's all you need to know because we don't reveal too much on this show.
Yeah, this dude's got PTSD and it's kind of affecting the way he's living and the way his daughter's living, and it makes for an incredibly interesting story. We've seen a lot of father-daughter stories, I guess, like this, but this one taps into something really unique because I think this is what this movie is dealing with is probably a real thing. I feel like this is a real thing that is happening in America or possibly around the world
100%.
With veterans. I'm sure that there are some people going through this. And it's one of those things where it's a completely unique side of the world and a completely unique story that I didn't even know that this type of thing existed. So it takes this father-daughter story that I think a lot of us are familiar with and puts a spin on it that is so incredibly original and provocative. Like, this is a movie, man. This is a movie.
And one hell of a beautiful movie at that. I mean, like, it is just so touching.
It was intoxicating, man. I was so in love with this.
You just kind of sit there with, you know, just eyes watered, running down your face, and you're like, okay, I'm sobbing, and that's all right, but because it's okay to cry. Yeah, this film was good.
And from the start, this comes from really compelling characters. They're set up in a way that kind of almost immediately made them endearing. You get that there's something going on. It's one of those movies where it just starts and you've got this situation and you're trying to work out why these characters are going through what they're going through. Why are they in this situation? And that becomes the narrative question from the start. These characters become endearing over time through their actions. But for us as viewers, the narrative question is, because they're kind of just going about their daily life, we're like, why are they here? Why are they doing this? And over the course of the film, it's going to answer that. But I just found it like completely gripping from the start because the characters are so good.
Which comes from two things. First, unbelievable performances, and second, a director which can get these performances out of actors because, my goodness, both Ben Foster and Thomasin McKenzie here deliver such beautiful, naturalistic performances that just shine on screen.
They're so good.
Not once are you seeing the actors, you're just seeing human beings, which is what cinema is all about, because when you connect to being a human being, that humanity shines through.
Breaking down that barrier.
Then it just allows for empathy for the audience and it allows you to sit there and connect with these humans.
They are both so good in this movie. Like, we've been kind of raving about Ben Foster for ages now, and I think this guy is just... he's so underappreciated. He is so talented. Where he goes with this role, honestly, I was so stunned by. And Thomasin McKenzie, like, just... roles like this are just so good and they both bring their A game. I'm just completely stunned by it.
Obviously, Winter's Bone completely took off Jennifer Lawrence's career, and I can only hope the same thing happens here for Thomasin McKenzie. And kind of looking at her upcoming projects, I think she's going to have quite a incredible next few years, and, you know, people are going to start to know her name. But I do hope they come back to this film, not just for her performance, but for the film overall, because, my goodness, it is just something so freaking special.
The whole movie feels so natural to the point that I was actually curious. I was like, are these non-actors? Are these actual people? Until, like, I realized, like, later, I was like, oh, that's an actress I recognize from somewhere. And I obviously realized that, yeah, they are actors. But that is how real this movie is. It's really visceral without ever being loud. This is really quiet storytelling. I want to make that clear. This is not a bombastic movie in any way. It's really measured. It's really controlled. And it's just kind of... I guess almost like a peaceful movie. Can I just say, I haven't seen this much green in a movie in a long time. Like, this is a really organic feeling movie. It's really kind of natural. And it just makes for something beautiful. I mean, at no point would I really say that the shots in it are like overly kind of going for some artistic, you know, going for being beautiful. It's just supposed to be natural. It's supposed to be immersive, and it's supposed to be, I guess, poetic more than going for this kind of bold visual style. It all just works in its favor.
Honestly, that is just like, that's the one word I'd use to sum up this film, is that it is poetic. It kind of feels like a little poem in itself. It's subtle, it's beautiful, it's small, and it captures everything it needs to. And by the end, you're just left with your jaw on the floor because it has such a great ending.
Yeah,
it makes the entire ride so worthwhile. And not to say that it wasn't, but it just kind of, it's like a little cherry on top, and you're like, oh, well done.
I mean, it's honestly just so intimate. It's so mesmerizing. And I think what really makes it so fantastic is the way it looks at trauma, and can we move past traumatic events in our lives? And if we can't, do we have to drag down the people we love most in the process? I mean, this movie is really a unique look at grief and anxiety and depression and all of those horrible things that people feel when they've been through something traumatic. And it's just really touching. That's the best way of putting it. It is a really touching, poetic movie. Just great stuff. So that was our review of Leave No Trace. Have you seen it yet?
Did you like it?
Did you hate it?
Did you like the video?
Of course you did.
Crave more Banter?
If so, subscribe to our YouTube channel down there somewhere.
And don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Breaking Banter.
And you can also support us on Patreon if you really love what we're doing here. A bunch of cool rewards for you to check out. See you guys in the next video.